I've got a couple of conspiracy theories. So honestly, like, you know, the one that people go to as a joke when they try and do that thing where they reference a ridiculous, like the Jesse Ventura, Alex Jones of, oh, I don't believe this ridiculous conspiracy theory, so lend this one more credence. The one they always make fun of is Flat Earth. And I was never 100% sure if this was an actual movement of people or if this was like a satirical website where it's like joking around, making obvious scientific faux pas. It is not, from what I can tell, because this is a huge amount of work and research for a joke. And so I don't think it is. I'm going to link you to the website right now, and you can just take a peek through on the homepage. It tells you, so basically their entire shtick is they believe that the entire globally agreed upon fact, or rather theory, that the Earth is round is being propagated by scientists and being propagated by educators who are intentionally robbing people of the information of this flat Earth for some reason, or they're just so bought into the conspiracy themselves with all this evidence in science that they just believe it, I guess. So they think that the world exists, almost picture it like a frying pan, and they describe the whole world being flat. I was looking through their geology part, and there's just still a crust of the Earth, apparently, which means there are layers. I have no fucking idea how that could work with a flat Earth. Who knows how flat it is? Like, is this deep dish Earth? Is this thin crust Earth? Nobody knows, but it's that. And then they explain the Arctic Circle, because, you know, if you fold out the world, you see ice on both sides. They call that the ice wall, because in their heads, we live in Westeros, where if you go too far south or too far north, you come upon an enormous ice wall. And they have all these theories about why the ice wall formed and what might lie beyond. And it is pants on head, dude, retarded.
I wish it were true. If there were an ice wall somewhere and some mysteries beyond it, that would give my life new purpose. I'd be like, well, first we got to figure out how to drive a snowcat, right? And then we're going to need some firepower. Like I'd want to go to the wall. I'd want to know about this.
And did you know that the sun revolves around the Earth?
I did. Yes, I read the Bible.
The sun revolves around the Earth, and it's even dumber than what the Greeks thought back then with their, Eurocentric or whatever, not Eurocentric, geocentric model of the universe. It's even dumber than that, because even Sophocles and whoever the fuck were just taking their best guesses. They were like, hey, the sun's out there. We got to make these planets do all these wiggly, weird lines in order for the rotation or the revolutions to make sense. But the sun, that's in the middle, and it shines light around the whole solar system. That's what they thought. These people went a step dumber. They think the sun is like a flashlight. They literally describe it as a lighthouse, that the sun is only capable of giving light in a circular path, which explains why there's only light on certain parts of the day at certain times. And it is baffling. They think the planets are super, super tiny, and they don't think that the stars are actually stars. They think using Occam's razor, it's a page on their website that using Occam's razor, is it more likely that these are stars of immense magnitude, or rather that they're dots of light in the sky? Obviously, mysterious dots of light in the sky emerges victorious in that little hypothetical bout. But like, this is actual mental illness, if you can believe this.
One of the things I really want to do next time I get clear weather, I want to fly up just a mile high, right? Just like 6,000 feet or so, and see if I can see the curvature of the Earth at all.
They've explained that too. That these flat Earth guys explained that as well.
Yes,
you can see that from aircraft.
So the way it's all based on some scientist from the 1800s who was, obviously everybody by that hundreds of years ago, everybody knew the Earth was round, and he was like, I'm going to check the curvature. And so he had someone in a sailboat on a 6-mile long stretch of still water, apparently, and there was a 5-foot pole on the boat. And he got near the ground, about 8 inches from the ground, and put a telescope there or whatever to keep it in his sight. And he was saying, all right, as this thing gets to the other end of this 6-mile pond, I won't be able to see it because the Earth will have, eclipsed the top of that beam. And lo and behold, he saw it the entire way through. And so he assumed, or rather drew the firm conclusion that he refused to step down on, that the Earth was entirely flat. because of that experiment. Like, it took me 3 seconds just to hit back and then go to the second result on Google to have someone being like, this is actually known as water refraction, whatever the hell, and it is indeed on the other side of the world, but the refraction off the water, especially if it's that still and from that distance with that technology of vision, we could make it look as though it's still fully there. And it's just baffling that they still cite that study. That guy is their king. Like the guy who put a fucking 5-foot pole on a boat and sent his buddy 6 miles down a still lake.
I want to see it for myself, though. That's something I don't know. I can tell you this. At 2,000 feet, I can't see the curvature of the Earth. I've been at 3, but I don't know that. I've looked carefully at 2. I want to go to 6 and just be like, all right, I've got all the time in the world. I have all the visibility of a, chair in the sky. Can I see it? I get to, make my own rules and look for as long as I want to. And I want to take a look and see if I can see the curvature of the Earth. That would be a neat thing to me.
We've been in jetliners plenty of times.
But there's a difference, like looking out that double fucking window with the frost and the humidity and between the panes, and it's definitely not the same as a chair hanging from a wing. Those
are intentionally made convex, by the way, to give the illusion of a round Earth as you're looking out of the aircraft.
Yeah, I read that. I read that on a website.
I don't doubt it. I hate airlines as well.
Dr. Samley Robotham over there.
Samley Robotham.
That's his name. That's the guy who put the boat out in the lake or whatever. Yeah. There's lots of YouTube videos
from a plane. Like, I don't know.
You can see it.
Can you see it from a plane?
I believe that you can. I've thought that I've seen it before. But for all I know, there's some optical illusion that's created. Someone who maybe knows better will be like, oh no, at 35,000 you can't see it. That's an optical illusion caused by refraction of light in the Earth's atmosphere. And I'd be like, oh okay.
I don't think I've ever.
But it's still round though, right?
Like I've looked at stuff, right? Like, hey, we're passing over the Grand Canyon, or isn't this cool? But I don't know that I've studied the horizon for a curve from a
this passage here. This is how they explain circumnavigation. This is the first sentence. The flat Earth is laid out like the United Nations logo. The North Pole is at the center, while Antarctica is at the rim. The continents are spread out around the North Pole. So he sees it in really what is technically not the wrong way to look at the world. If you just looked at the map differently and folded it up, the only difference is this man thinks that that is the shape that you could if you were a giant, you could step across them like rocks in a garden.
Except the thing about there's no ice wall, right? So if I headed to the edge where they say the ice wall is, I could come out the other side.
Yeah, you could see, this is okay. Circumnavigation on a flat Earth is achieved because of a compass east and west are always at right angles to north. Thus, traveling eastwards continuously takes you in a circle around the North Pole. East and west are curved. North.
That's not how that shit fucking works, bro.
I know. But wait,
draw a straight line with your hand.
Kyle,
do that real quick. It doesn't curve.
Let me read one more sentence and it will clarify. North is hubwards, south is rimwards, east is turnwise, and west is widdershins. And so I'm just reading what they wrote.
Those are fake words.
These are made up words meant to tell you that you can't. Literally, that excuse right there is you can't go that way to go around the Earth because that way is east, which means you need to go that way. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
But all you gotta do is be like, no, I'm not going east. I don't care what direction you call it. I'm going that fucking way.
These are real words. I just didn't know them.
Yeah.
I thought when Taylor said widdershins wasn't a real word, I thought he might actually be telling the truth. It's a direction contrary to the sun's course, considered as unlucky counterclockwise.
They're using words from a time when we thought the world was flat. Is how far they've had to go back because we learned that widdershins doesn't make any goddamn sense. If your Garmin told you to take to head widdershins, towards exit 60, you'd be like, what in God's name is happening? This bitch has lost her mind. They answered this question. How did they know? They must get these a lot. Traveling in a straight line. Can't we just circumnavigate the Earth by traveling in a straight line without a navigational aid? Answer. It is not possible to travel in a perfectly straight line for very long without a navigational 8. It is not even possible to drive down a long length of highway without turning the steering wheel left or right. Get in a car and see if you can drive down a long stretch of highway without turning the wheel left or right. It is a near impossible thing to do. And when it comes to planes, ships, helicopters, no craft has the ability of traveling in a perfectly straight line without the operator adjusting the craft without regards to visual terrain, compass readings, or what have you. When one navigates, hands-on control is paramount. You wouldn't find a ship captain in New York pointing his vessel in the direction of London, turning on cruise control, and then taking a 3-week nap. This doesn't answer the question.
No.
Yes, you absolutely straight line. And if you did derivate a little bit, it shouldn't matter because you're still going towards the edge because it's a circle, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't matter a bit. And what about autopilot and GPS and, you know, the pictures of the Earth from the fucking space and all that stuff? These guys are, you know, we're looking at how crazy these guys. I just realized something. They're not that much more kooky than people who believe the Bible as fact, though, because they have some pretty similar things that they believe that can also be very easily disproven. And you know, you're like, oh yeah, just go. What's that word? Wittershins. Go Wittershins and tithe. Do that too. I don't know. This is bizarre though, because there's so much science that we got pictures of the Earth from space. You know,
this is like a whole new level of willful ignorance, because it's like they're using science. Like, you know, when you see in an old science or a current science textbook, you'll see this is the heliocentric model of the solar system. This is the geocentric model. If you look at the geocentric one, there's tons of weird patterns that the planets have to go around in order to explain how we see them. That's the model they use as their example. The one they use in science books to explain how it wouldn't possibly work to have a flat Earth. And
they're using that.
Baffling.
Yeah. And then just there's a lot of reasons. Like whenever someone's taught, I don't know what the correct, you know, truth to stand on is when you're trying to like get somebody to see right. But I just remember my mom telling me one time like how old the Earth was, and she was a little off. And and I was like, well, Mom, think about this. All right, like we look up and we see those stars, right? Like God made those. It's written right in there, heaven and earth. Like you can't go. It says it. Don't go back on that. Like He made those things, right? Like, but they're so far away that it takes, you know, tens of thousands of years in some case for their light to reach us. So this all had to have been here. That star had to have been there for tens of thousands of years, or we couldn't see it. The light wouldn't have gotten here yet. So how can you stand on that little ledge you're standing on over there where you believe that this is all 6,000 years old? But that's never the way to approach it. I feel like she immediately would go to light. How do we know how fast light is? And right? I'm like, do we have to go to Einstein?
Well, when he started the star, he also did the ray of light that made its way here.
Oh, he just stretched it out.
Yeah, it made the star and the ray of light so that it was here right away. You know, it made you not wait for it.
But all right, but here's the issue with that, because that light is reached out like that, as we're fed that delayed light, we're seeing different things. Things are happening over a course of time. You know what I mean? Like it's not as if you just turned on a flashlight and then stretched the beam out to Earth. You turned that star on, and then over the course of tens of thousands of years, like all kinds of clouds of ionized gas and planets went between the telescope and a star that's out there. Like things are happening. Like that light is being altered like throughout history along its path, and you can see that as you watch it.
I hear you, bullshit. But if you have a real believer, they could be like, "Yeah, that was just all laid out there." I think, and I want to put words.
Well, they believe that, then you have to come to the conclusion that God is fooling us on purpose.
Yes, yeah, sure. Because okay, so here's the thing. I hope I have this right. You have a organism like a bone or something, and it has carbon in it, and then that carbon decays, right? It leaves the bone at a predictable rate. So we can look at a bone and say, it's got this much carbon. It must be this old, right? That's what carbon dating is, if I'm explaining right. Yeah. So how is the Earth 6,000 years old when we have carbon dating proof that, you know, dinosaurs were here, whatever, 20 million years ago, whatever.
There's no response to it, but
that's
not true.
Oh, you don't understand.
That's not true.
Yeah, God laid all the stuff out there as a giant scavenger hunt for humans' benefit. And some of the bones that he put in place there were you know, halfway carbon decayed, you know, is because that's the way he made it from the get-go. You know, like it's just a big old scavenger hunt of bones underground.
I would throw, if I were God, I'd throw at least a couple dinosaurs out there like still rotting just to baffle people. Like, what the fuck? This one's still bleeding.
I
Like,
put in a
there's-
unicorn. You know, like, one unicorn, one mermaid. That'll fuck with them.
Yeah, that
that's
stuff's
a-
really
that's a
frustrating
confusing one.
because as long as there's that much of the population that believes things like that, we're so far away from getting to that Star Trek utopia, right? Like in Star Trek, like there's no ignorance like that. There's no like even if you go to like the dumbest of dumb people, they're still flying around in spaceships. They might have some bad ideas, but they've gotten past the whole believing that their planet's flat and sacrificing
flat
things
thing
to
is-
a omnipotent being and all that.
Like, because it's so cultural and accepted in certain brands of Christianity that the earth is 6,000 years old, you've kind of been desensitized to it. So if someone actually believes that, you're not actually like, oh wow, do you make your own fire at night and hunt for your food, you know, ancient Philistine? Like, you don't do that. But with this flat earth thing, it's so rare, and I think it's objectively dumber than the 6,000 year earth thing. Like, both are so dumb it's difficult, but the 6,000 year earth thing, at least you have history as plausible deniability, which is the thing that Scientologists don't have. Like, your religion isn't old enough for people to have bought into it and have been raised in it. And so obviously when you say that Xenu is coming back, it's like, whoa, we haven't had hundreds of years to slowly kind of nibble on this and make it normal. So hard pass. You know, Joseph Smith got in. He was late in the religion starting business, but goddamn, if he got there 3 weeks later, they would have figured it out, because someone would have had a cotton gin and they would have been like, "Get out of here with your bullshit." Like,
You say that, but then look at Scientology. You know, like
Yeah, but that's
I
like
bet
a
Joseph Smith could show up right fucking now, and you could just fucking you play a YouTube video, and he's got his hat. He's got a top hat there, and there's some gold light emanating it from it, like that briefcase in Pulp Fiction. And he's like, "So, this afternoon I was in upstate New York, and an angel came down. His name was Moroni. And he led me to these clink, clink, clink golden tablets. Yep, lost gospel of Jesus Christ. Let me tell you what it's all about." And he'd get some followers, right?
You'd get some, but I mean, even only Jesus could only get 12. Think about that.
Oh, those are disciples, though. There's a big difference between disciples and followers.
That's fair. Yeah, he did seem to pack the house no matter where he went.
I feel like he got
craft
much
services
bigger
was
after his
never had
death.
enough. Yeah.
Do you think that if they had not put Jesus to death, that Christianity would have been what it is? I think it would have fizzled out and not been a thing.
You think Nirvana would still be making good music? 0% chance. It was probably the best thing for him that Jesus died around that same age.
Because I mean, you look at
You know? Oh my God, this happened like 25 years ago. Who cares? Like.